Hi everyone, welcome to this very first episode of 18 days, 18 Adhyaya, 18 summaries of Bhagavad Gita. This is my very humble initiative to present the teachings of Bhagavad Gita in a very simple and relatable way so that we can understand the essence of Bhagavad Gita and can apply it in our daily lives, in our modern lives. The purpose of these short series is to keep them simple and not to make them overwhelming or complex or I'll watch it later series, because in our fast and daily life we seldom have time to come back and watch our saved playlist. Also, one disclaimer that there are so many commentaries written in the past by hundreds of people in last few decades, and what I'm sharing here is my learning, my teachings from few of them which I read in the last few years, and I just hope that I don't hurt your sentiments or disappoint you with my learnings. And I seek an apology in advance if I do that. I will definitely try my best here to share my teachings with you, and I just hope that you can take something from them and apply in your daily lives. So let's dive into the first episode and the teachings. So 5 things you need to know before we dive into the first chapter. Number 1, Bhagavad Gita was narrated by Lord Krishna to Arjun. Lord Krishna was the God himself, Bhagwan, and he had taken birth in the third yug, which was Dwapar Yug, to guide the humanity. And Arjun is the third son of Pandu and the third of the Pandavas. Okay. Second thing I'm sharing here is a very interesting fact that Lord Krishna, who was second avatar of Vishnu, was aware that he was a god and he was aware of his powers, whereas the first avatar was Bhagwan Ram. And he did not know his powers as a god, or he never used them as his powers, and whatever he did best, whatever is in the capability of a normal human being. And he came in this world to to show how to become an ideal human being, whereas Lord Krishna came in this world to guide us how to live an ideal life, how to live and act in this life. So the third thing is Bhagavad Gita was narrated at the battlefield of Kurukshetra, also known as Dharmkshetra, right before the Mahabharata war, also known as Dharma Yudh. The war here is between Kauravas and Pandavas, but actually the war is a metaphor for the everlasting or never-ending war between the force of light, that is good, and the force of darkness, that is evil, in every human heart. So the war here is actually the war within ourselves that is always going on. So there is very interesting theory that I read somewhere about the 4 yugs and the good and evil and the war within. So in Satyug they say the good and evil lived in 2 universe or in 2 extremes. In the second yug, that was Treta Yug, Ram Yug, good and evil were neighbors. In third yug, that was Dwapar Yug, good and evil lived in same family, which was Pandav and Kaurav. And in this present yug, which we call Kal Yug, good and evil live in the same heart, in the same person. So that is why there is always a war within, and we are Arjun, and Krishna, the divine, is living within us, and Duryodhan is this Dushtman. The Dushman is Dushtman. So when our own mind becomes our enemy, then there's always a war between good and evil. And because Krishna lives within us as a divine power, so कहते हैं कि जब मन धर्म संकट में फंस जाए तो जवाब भी अंदर से ही आता है. So always look within when you feel like you're in a dilemma. So the fourth thing here is the situation that I want to share, because of which Bhagavad Gita was narrated. So our Prince Arjun is in Dharam Sankat. He is totally confused. He is not able to make a choice. And Dharam Sankat is when you have to make a choice between 2 morally right things. When there's something which is right and something which feels right, may or may not be right, may be wrong, but it feels right. So that is when a person is in Dharam Sankat. And in this Dharam Yudh, Arjun has to fight against his own family members, against his own great grandfathers and maternal uncles and cousins, and to whom which is totally attached and he loves them. He has spent all his childhood with them, and now when he has to kill them in this war, now he is not able to make a choice between whether to fight this war and kill them, or give it up this war and become a sannyasi. So this is called a true dharam sankat. Choose between what is right and what feels right. Okay, and the fifth is the fact that I'm going to share about Bhagavad Gita. So Bhagavad Gita is primarily a conversation between Krishna and Arjun, and there are total 700 verses, out of which one is spoken by Raja Dhritarashtra, and he was the father of Kauravas, and the very first shlok is spoken by him, and then 47 shloks are spoken by Sanjay. Sanjay was a disciple of Ved Vyas, and he had given the special vision to see what's going on in the battlefield while sitting in the palace of Dhritarashtra, and explaining to him what is going on in the battlefield, as Dhritarashtra was not fit to fight. So he was in his palace and he was keen on listening what's going on there. So Ved Vyas appointed Sanjay to help him know what is going on. And 84 shloks are spoken by Arjun, and 574 shlokas are spoken by Lord Krishna. And my meditation guru Daji from Heartfulness says that only 7 gems were spoken by Lord Krishna, and rest all were the internal communication between Arjun and Krishna. So isn't that interesting? Now let's dive into the first chapter and understand these verses. So the first chapter is Vishad Yog. Vishad means shok. In this chapter, Arjun is expressing his sorrow about the war, how he is sad and deluded and in grief, and he's regretting that he has to fight this war. And he's the biggest warrior on earth, but now when seeing both the armies ready to fight, he loses his state and he gets totally emotional, and he's totally deluded, completely confused, and he does not want to fight. He does not want to kill those whom he is so much attached to. And in this chapter, he is expressing his sorrow to Krishna. So the very first shlok is spoken by Dhritarashtra, and he wants to know from Sanjay that what is going on in the war and what are the two armies doing. What are the two armies up to in the battlefield? The second verse is by Sanjay. He was trying to explain whatever he is seeing on the battlefield, that Duryodhan looks insecure and fearful to see the military formation of the Pandav army that is standing in front of them, and he's feeling so fearful that he goes to his guru Dronacharya because he's insecure and he wants to express his insecurity and he wants to feel better. So he's very anxious here. So from 3rd shlok until 11th shlok, Sanjay is explaining to Dhritarashtra about Duryodhan, how is his state and what all he is expressing, what all he is talking. So verse until verse 11, Duryodhan is talking to Guru Dronacharya, expressing his insecurity, his sarcasm, and at the same time he is trying to boost his morale himself by talking about his own army and what all great warriors in his army, like Guru Dronacharya and Bhishma Pitama and Guru Kripacharya and many other big warriors who had come to fight from all over the world from his side. So he is trying to feel better by expressing that what if their military formation is so good, even we Kauravas are no less than them. And that is what Duryodhan is. He is full of ego, he is full of power, he is full of insecurity, also fearful, but at the same time he doesn't want to accept it that he is less than anyone else. And from verse 12 until verse 19, it is all about blowing of conch, shank. In our Hindu wars, whenever there is a war, there is always someone elder who plays shank to start the war. So here Bhishma Pitama blew the conch first of all to mark the beginning of the war, and after that every person, every other warrior, every big warrior followed by blowing his own conch, his own shank. And interestingly, everybody has their own names of those shanks. And in all these verses, it's very beautifully explained how the sound of all the conch and trumpets fill the sky and the whole environment like a thunder, and it feels like a roar of a lion. But in the midst of all this, the sound of Rishikesh or Krishna, his shank is called Panchajanya, and how beautifully and divinely it fills the air. So this is how divine and majestic he is, that even the sound of his conch is so beautiful. And just like Krishn's shank name was Panchajanya, Arjun's shank was Devdatta, Bhim shank was Podra, Yudhishthir's shank name was Anant Vijay, Nakul's shank name was Sughosh, and Sahadev's shank was Mani Pushpak. And now we are on to verse 20, which is a very crucial point, because now Arjun asks Krishna to take his chariot in between both the armies, because he wants to see whom all he is going to fight. So one more thing I want to tell, that Krishna is playing the role of charioteer with Arjun. He is his Sarthi, and he had chosen not to raise or lift any weapon against anyone in this war, because he feels that this is the war of humanity and he can guide them, but he will not kill anyone or raise his weapon against anyone, because clearly he is in this world to guide the humanity to fight their own war. Just like a parent, when he has children, he cannot solve all their problems. He has to guide them to solve their own problems on their own. So this is what Krishna is doing here. And once Arjun sees both the armies, he fills with lot of emotions. And from verse 21 to 47, Arjun is expressing his sorrow, his grief, his sadness, his attachment, his desire to not fight the war or not to kill the people, and he's not able to decide that whether he should fight the war or he should become a sannyasi, he should give up, he should renounce everything and he should just go and become a sannyasi, because he cannot fight this war. He feels that he will incur a sin if he kills his own cousins, his own family members, his gurus, his grand uncles. He thinks it will be more like committing a sin. Also he feels that it's better to beg and earn living rather than kill and earn the kingdom. He feels that this kingdom will be of no use if he has to kill his own people. So he is totally mentally deluded, emotionally overwhelmed, his body giving up, he is physically drained, his weapons are slipping from his hand and his body is trembling, and he sinks into the chariot saying that Krishna, I cannot fight this war, and just tell me what to do. So I actually want to read what all words Arjun is using in the translation of those verses with Krishna. So, O Krishna, what satisfaction could we find in killing Dhritarashtra's son? We know that they are overpowered with greed, but still they are related to us. They are the members of my family, and how can we gain happiness by killing members of our own family? Also, when a family declines, ancient traditions are destroyed. Women of the family becomes corrupt. Social chaos prevails in the family, which becomes hell, and the timeless spiritual foundations of family and society would be destroyed by these terrible deeds. It is said that whose family dharma has been destroyed dwell in hell. So this is a great sin. He even goes on saying that better for me if the sons of Dhritarashtra, weapons in hand, were to attack me in battle and kill me unarmed and unresisting. He is okay if the sons of Dhritarashtra, if Kauravas kill him, he is okay with that. He is so much perplexed, and he's so much emotionally overwhelmed that he is okay if Kaurav comes and kill him. To this extent he does not fight the war. And then last, he says that he has no desire for victory, for a kingdom or pleasures. Or what use is a kingdom or pleasure or even life if those for whose sake we desire these things are engaging in this battle, renouncing their wealth and their lives? Even if they were to kill me, I would not want to kill them, and not even to become the ruler of these worlds, how much less for the earth alone. That means forget all the three kingdoms, he does not want this earth if he has to kill his own people to earn this. And in the last verse, that is 2.47, overwhelmed by sorrow, Krishna spoke these words, and casting away his bow and arrows, he sat down in his chariot in the middle of the battlefield. So in the end, let me conclude what all we can learn from this chapter. That Arjun, who is the biggest warrior on earth, is swaying in emotions, and he cannot do what he is here for. He cannot fight this war of dharma, and he represents us, you, me, and every human being in this world, that we all are filled with so much power, but yet we are swaying in our own emotions, and we are unhappy and deluded and full of miseries because we are ignorant like Arjun, and we think in the body consciousness, which Krishna will address in the next coming chapters. Is the war within that keeps going within us, and the battlefield is the life itself, and the dharma sankat that he is finding himself in is the situation we always find ourselves in. We always have choices, and we are always posed with two choices, good or right, and something which is not good, or which feels good, or which feels right. So we always have the willpower to choose between the two. So the war is actually, choosing which option. Also, important thing to learn here is that Arjun was clear of the war when he began, but right when he has to fight the war, he is swaying with emotion, which happens with us also. We start something with very excitement, but in the midway we lose our focus due to the conflicts of emotions, and we give up in between. Important thing to learn here is that when the emotions goes up, our intellect goes down, our wisdom goes down, our rational thought process does not work the way it should work, and we can't make the choices effectively. See, in our heart of hearts, we all want to do the right thing, but how do we know what is the right thing? So in that case, we should approach someone knowledgeable, so that who can help us through seeing the things clearly, who can help us handle our emotions. And actually Bhagavad Gita is all about that. So we must bring Bhagavad Gita in our daily life, daily practice, because unless until we don't find that right person, we should read and try to understand Bhagavad Gita, which is applicable in our daily lives. Most of our problems comes from wrong thinking, due to ignorance, and Bhagavad Gita actually dispels that ignorance, that darkness within us, and lights up from within and makes us wise enough to see through our problems and handle them. So in life, problems are as evident as morning and evening, or winter or summer, or shade and sun, but keeping our emotions in check will help us to handle those emotions. So the goal of Bhagavad Gita is not to make us happy or to teach us to vanquish our problems, but to help us manage our emotions. So I'll end this summary here with our character Arjun sitting in his chariot, does not want to fight, and we will continue this tomorrow in our next. So I'll take your leave today, and I'll see you tomorrow in the second episode of this short summaries of Bhagavad Gita. And I have a quiz here today. I'll ask you 3 questions, and you have to answer them in the comment below, and whoever answers them right, I will mention their name in my story. And so the first question is, what emotion is Arjun feeling? Second, what is the name of Krishna's conch or shank? And the third question is, how many shloks does Arjun speak out of 700 verses or shloks? So see you tomorrow. Have a great day. I'll take your leave. Thank you. Jai Shri Krishna.